Greetings, TheWarOwl greets you, and welcome to Quick Tips, the tips so quick we didn't even show the intro. This time we're going to be covering burst fire, what it is, how to use it, and when you should use it. Certain weapons in Counter-Strike Global Offensive have a secondary fire, which means they do something when you hit the right mouse button. Burst fire is one of these, but it is only available for the Glock, the terrorist starting pistol, and the Famas, the cheap counter-terrorist rifle. To turn on burst fire, click the right mouse button. To turn it off, click the right mouse button. It really couldn't be simpler. Burst fire allows you to fire 3 rounds at a higher rate of fire than possible on the semi-automatic or automatic settings. But there is a period of time where you cannot shoot after you shoot those 3-round bursts. However, it's not really that long. With the Glock, burst fire sometimes is used, but it's not really super effective. It fires 3 rounds very quickly, following the recoil pattern, but it's very inconsistent where the rounds go, so it's only really useful at very close range. But this means to use burst fire with the Glock, you click, and you have to pull down slightly as the rounds come out, because it does follow the recoil pattern. The Glock has very low armor penetration and very low damage, so getting 3 shots very quickly is a good idea on eco rounds. It will make it easier to take down armored opponents at very close distances, if all 3 of those shots hit the head. When burst firing with the Glock, always go for that headshot. Keep in mind, it makes more sense to purchase a P250 at just 300 on eco rounds instead of the Glock, but sometimes all you have is a Glock. For the Famas, burst fire is kind of the same. Burst fire is still at a higher rate of fire for the first 3 rounds with the Famas than if you're just shooting automatic. Because the Famas doesn't really do as much damage as other rifles, it makes sense to want to shoot at a higher fire rate because higher fire rate means more bullets. Think of it this way, the AK-47 is a one-hit headshot. The Famas may take 3 at certain distances or 2. So if you shoot all 3 shots at the same time, it becomes a one-hit headshot. However, the rounds are not exactly consistent on the Famas. They don't always go to the same spot. But with some practice, you can get some pretty consistent patterns out of it, as you can see me doing here on the wall, at like medium distance. Not so much at the longer distances, I don't think. Sort of goes up and to the left just a tiny little bit there. Whereas the regular spray with the Famas goes up and to the right. So they're very different using burst fire versus using the automatic. You do it the same way as the Glock. Click once, and then pull down slightly as the rounds come out, and move a little bit to the right with the Famas. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to, but once you get it, it can be useful in those certain situations. Sort of where you're trying to get a very quick one-tap sort of a shot with the Famas. It's good for certain play styles, but not for the spray type of player. This is not a spray type of thing to do here. I'm TheWarOwl. Fun fact! Bots do not use burst fire, but if you turn a weapon on burst fire and it's picked up by a bot, they will then try to use the burst fire, but their AI is not really good enough to get a handle on it. This is probably the most useless thing I've ever told you. Owlette jumped 8 times that round. I'm TheWarOwl, and I still have no closer.